Hey there guys, Aldershot here, and today we're going to do an early impression video on Darkwood, developed by Acid Wizards, and on sale on Steam at the regular price of $15. Alright, so this is an early access game, at least at the time of this recording, as with all games in our early impression series. So I do want to remind everybody that things can change, new things can be added, some mechanics could also be taken out maybe, and new polish and new versions will be available down the road. So that is important to keep in mind. And if you are interested or curious about Darkwood in any way, I do recommend checking out the official Steam page as well as maybe the official website to see what the latest version has to offer. Alright, so anyways, what is Darkwood? Darkwood is an interesting kind of a top-down survival horror game with a toggleable roguelike elements. Alright, so it does feature some procedural generated maps and procedurally generated placed items and all that sort of stuff, and you can turn permadeath on or off. It's really up to you, so that's kind of an interesting feature. Anyways, let's take a look at some of the features as we kind of talk about it. You can rebind your controls, I do believe. Yep. You know, adjust your music and your volume and all that stuff. Very basic amounts of visual options, but new options could be added down the road. Again, this is early access, and this is kind of a 2D top-down game, so it's really not that important to have a robust set of video options. Not a lot of other features in the way of gameplay, just the main campaign essentially. So let's dive into Darkwood and kind of take a look. We'll start a new game. We'll kind of go into our current game down the road anyways. We are going to skip the prologue. Actually, no, we'll leave it on. We're going to keep permadeath off, alright? We'll discuss that when we get the opportunity to. Now, Darkwood is early access, of course, so there will be some optimization issues currently as well, at least at the time of this recording. The load times are quite long. This is one of the reasons why I like capturing my commentary live as well as with unedited game footage, because I want you guys to see the game at its most natural state without editing out the boring parts. I want you guys to see the boring parts because that is going to be valuable when you are trying to evaluate whether this game is a proper fit for you or not. So as you can see, after that big spiel about whatever I just talked about, the game's still not loaded up. On the technical side, is so far from what I've noticed, is this game's biggest fault. It does have very long loading times. Now, in the email that the developer sent me, he did specifically mention about the load time optimization and its issues, so I'm pretty sure he's aware of it. So that will be an issue that will more than likely be fixed down the road. Anyways, we're going to take a look at an intro cutscene. Some text with some story bits and all that. Illustrations are done quite nice. I do like it. This is kind of a survival horror game, so it's a little eerie and dreary and all that sort of stuff. A little dark. I think, you know, if I was to criticize it, even though it does look pretty good for the most part, I think a little bit more contrast would help pop the images out a little bit better, without sacrifice too much of that eerie atmosphere that this game is trying to go for. But that's just me being nitpicky, not really that game-breaking of a complaint. It's not even really a complaint, more of a suggestion, if you will. Alright, so here is the game. As you can see, it is a little bit dark. It is a survival horror game, so they're trying to be as eerie and as moody as they possibly can. And it does feature kind of like a flashlight sort of lighting system, as you can see. And it is a top-down 2D game, as you can see as well. So you kind of play as this gentleman here, and there are some objects that can be moved around. The physics are done fairly believably as well, which is kind of nice. And you can drag certain items around the room as well, and that will certainly come in handy for puzzle elements. Alright, so let's search the table. This is kind of a survival horror game, so a large part of this game is kind of you know, searching around, a lot of adventuring and discovery, a lot of kind of looking for resources to survive and all that stuff. And you can turn on some lights, and I kind of want the light to be positioned in a more strategic area so I can see more of the room without having to rely too much on my flashlight, which is actually done quite well. Now in the Steam page it did mention that they're working on potentially a better lighting system. I have to say, even as an early access, so far from what I've seen, the lighting system in this game is actually done pretty well. I'm actually fairly impressed with what's already here. So further improvements will only you know, impress me further, to be honest. Though, you know, it is a little bit dark, even for a survival horror game. You'll see that further down the road as an example as well. And that sometimes the flashlight light is kind of dull in certain instances as well. That could have very well been done for mechanics' sakes, but that's up for debate. But anyways, the lighting overall is done well. It could use a couple more adjustments, but not terrible. Now the 2D illustrations, as you can see from this top-down perspective, is actually done really, really well. The objects, your character, the environment, everything's very, very clear and easy to read as far as playability is concerned. It seems like we're trapped in here. But anyways, yeah, so everything is done very, very easily, you know, decipherable by the player, which is good. But at the same time, very, very high detailed, and it keeps to the atmosphere of being dreary and dark and scary and all that sort of stuff. Alright, so we are kind of tired. You do have a kind of a meter here. You'll see up here where my cursor's pointing. It's kind of your stamina meter. You know, your usual survival mechanics and all that stuff. Let's see, we did find a key in our wardrobe. We can barricade the door, but that wouldn't make sense at the moment. So we're going to unlock it, open it up, and step outside. Let's see what's out here. So you do have to kind of approach items in order to examine them. I think that kind of goes without saying. A large humanoid doll with a cut-out face. That's kind of eerie. Oh, there's our dog. He seems injured. My dog. I don't think he's going to make it. I think I should end his suffering. Yes, let's do that. Ooh, some wood. No items there. And you can't jump over fences just like that. Simple, easy commands. Oh, it looks like we have an axe here. And that will be obviously useful for taking care of our poor and suffering dog. So you can equip items just kind of like Minecraft or any survival game. You just kind of click it and place it in your usable slots, just like that. You collect enough objects that can be craftable. The recipes will automatically come up over here, allowing you to see what objects are craftable and what materials required to use it. So pretty easy and simple crafting system. I don't mind that at all. Let's see. So our dog is suffering. So let's kind of put him out of the misery and raise our axe and chop. A little bit gruesome, I agree. But this game doesn't shy away from the grotesque from the looks of it, alright? So the graphics do look quite good. As you can see, the illustration is quite nice. And again, as mentioned before, everything's, even though it's kind of dark and dreary, and even though everything's extremely high detail, which sometimes can make it hard to read for the player, this game actually does a pretty good job at having the important elements of the game quite readable to the player, while still maintaining a high detailed illustrations and all that sort of stuff. So it's done pretty well, I must say. As far as graphics is concerned, obviously the lighting is done quite well. It's definitely going to be one of the main aspects as far as aesthetics in this game. So I think they should keep working on it. Not that it's bad by any means, but improvements would definitely be welcomed. Let's see, what else? Oh yes, the sound design. So you heard some crows kind of fluttering off. Game does quite a good job at expressing atmosphere, that's for sure. And the sound design is done quite well as well. The footsteps of the player is quite appropriate. and believable. The little bits of music that you do get is quite atmospheric and suitable to this game. It's quite high quality music as well. We're picking up a little bit of it now. Hopefully you can hear it. And obviously, you know, with the, you know, you step on twigs every now and then, you can hear it. And the crows and animals and all that stuff really adds a lot to the atmosphere. So the sound design is done quite well. Now this is what I mean by sometimes the light doesn't do it as far as trying to figure your way out. Sometimes the foliage does kind of block your way because this is kind of a top-down adventure. But anyways, you know what? Let's get out of this game and kind of we're gonna go into my main game because we're past the initial parts and all that stuff, and we're into more sandboxy elements, so we're gonna explore a little bit of that. Yes, play. There we go. So unfortunately we are going to have to sit through a little bit more loading time. I might edit this out, I might not, depending on how I feel. But at the same time, it's kind of important for you guys to see these things, because you need to see the game's strengths, but also you need to experience the flaws as well. As that is the nature of these kind of impression videos, is to give you a fuller sense of the game. Again, so you can feel the excitement that I'm feeling, but at the same time feel the boredom that I'm feeling at the same time when the game is kind of boring, like right now. Again, the loading times aren't quite optimized. There's a lot of things about this game that's not quite optimized. A lot of features that still needs to be added. And I should also mention, and take this opportunity to mention, that this is kind of a chapter by chapter game. It's going to be released, well, as I mentioned, chapter by chapter. Currently, the version that we're playing now, we're playing through the prologue. And then I guess there'll be multiple other chapters following. And I do believe once you buy the game, that's it, you're covered. You get all the future chapters as well. Alright, so I don't want to ruin too much of the game. We are playing as a different character. I'm not going to tell you why. It actually gets kind of interesting. And I'm not, to be honest, this is kind of a mechanic as well, where you can find different things and cook into some weird syringe thing. I'm not really sure what that's all about, to be completely honest, because I haven't really found ingredients to do anything like that. But this is really the meat of the game that you're looking at now, once you're into the second phase of the game, once you play as the second guy. This is where you'll see more of the randomly generated world. You'll actually see a map here. So basically what you're going to want to do is explore this entire area at your own leisure. You know, there's no pacing, you are going to be your own pacing, and as you find things, there'll be markers that will come up. Although you don't ever show up in the map itself, you have to use landmarks in order to find your way, which is kind of interesting. So basically, the meat of the game, once you get past the first part of the game, is really kind of looking for resources to craft things to help you survive, so you can further look for more resources and more things that will explain the story and what's going on and all that sort of stuff. Now, if you do turn on permadeath, it becomes a little bit roguelike-ish, I guess you can say. Like I mentioned before, the objects, placements and all that stuff is randomly generated. The map itself is randomly generated. And if you die, that's it. That's game over. But if you don't have permadeath on, like me, if you're a sissy like me, if you die, you basically go back to the house, you'll keep all the stuff that you found, and another day will pass, essentially. And that's generally how the game will go. So yeah, that's Darkwood. Kind of interesting, I must say. I'm honestly, even as an early access, I'm having a hard time looking for flaws, to be completely honest. It's actually quite enjoyable for what it is. I mean, sometimes when I play this game, especially when I'm just in this more sandboxy part, where I'm just looking for stuff at random, it can get a little bit tedious. You know, I'll have long stretches where I won't find anything, or I'll find enemies, and I haven't found enough materials to create weapons yet, and that can be a little bit frustrating as well. All you can really do is run away like I am now. So again, that's not really the game's fault. It's really the genre that this game's a part of that is actually quite common, and pacing is really the issue here. Because it is a sandbox, because the player controls the pacing himself, it can get a little bit boring and tedious at times, but you know what, if you're into survival games, that's probably not a concern to you. So even that is a very, very subjective complaint, you know. So but I mean, the visuals look good. Mechanically, it's quite interesting and quite unique as far as survival is concerned. And I'm enjoying myself, just kind of discovering what's out there and trying to figure out what the hell is going on, especially if you knew what happened after the first part. I'm not going to spoil that for you. I was a little bit shocked, and I was like, wow, this game just made a very interesting turn that I didn't expect. It's actually pretty cool. I do like it. Let's see, what else? What else? Is there anything wrong with this game? Well, not really. To be honest, as far as early access is concerned, this game is doing it right. I mean, the game is enjoyable right off from version 1. Although, admittedly, you know, a little bit, it's not quite optimized. It does lack a little bit of features. There's really just a campaign to play through. Although you do have the option to turn permadeath on or off, but that's really minor in my honest opinion. But other than that, the game functions quite well. It's not buggy. I haven't had any crashes or any glitches or anything like that. Just some optimization issues, really. I would like to see the options expanded on, of course. But overall, pretty enjoyable, I must say. So right now, I'm just kind of looking for stuff. I'm looking for anything at all to help me survive or to further the story, and that's really the game. Alright, so yeah, it's actually quite a unique take on the survival genre. It looks quite pleasing to the eye, quite dreary and suiting to the game. As far as scary, I never really had any jump scares. It's more of the Silent Hill approach, where it's bases its fear on atmosphere and storytelling and narrative rather than just jump scares and stuff like that. And I died. So you get an example of what happens after death without the permadeath. So I'm on day 3. And as you can see, I will still have all my stuff. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Still can't craft anything, unfortunately. Alright. So yeah, there we go, guys. That's Darkwood. Yeah, not bad for an early access, I must say. Quite enjoyable. It's $15. So I'll let you decide whether that's worth it to you or not. All I can tell you right now, that for an early access, this is actually a quality product from what I've played. Quite enjoyable for what it is. It does have some pacing issues, but it's not really the game's fault itself. It's really an issue with the whole survival genre. So it really comes... It just comes with the genre. It's not really the game's fault itself. But anyways, I'll let you guys go. I do appreciate you guys watching, as always. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you are interested or not. But if you did enjoy this, or you found this informative in any way, you know, do show me some love. Like, share, fave, and comment. But most importantly, help me grow. Feed me my vegetables. And subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys. Alder shout outs.